Restart. Okay, cool. All right, welcome to Building Games with Ouya. My name's James Williams, and I want to send a special shout out to all of you guys for picking me over the Java Posse. So the company that I work for, it's totally not related to this talk, but I have to kind of give them a shout out because they let me come here. So their name is SaaS Markets, and we are the enterprise app store. So who am I? You know my name, and I did that stuff up there. The coolest one, I think, is the book Learning HTML5 Game Programming, which you can buy in the bookstore here at Devox. I get a whopping like 50 cents for each copy that you buy, so buy like 15. I am self-publishing some stuff online on LeanPub, 3JS by example, and there's another one that I'll get to a little bit. A bunch of articles online, and you can find all my social stuff at google.com plus James Williams. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Ouya, the game platform, and the game library that I specifically use to build games on top of Ouya. Things like dealing with controller input, deploying to different targets, that sort of thing, working on the television screen, and publishing to Ouya and or Google Play. So what is Ouya? Ouya is a NVIDIA Tegra 3 quad-core device with all those specs up there. The cool thing is that it runs on Android, and I'm getting a little bit of popping. Weird. Okay. Anyway, so you can expand the memory with a hard drive. You can plug up controllers to it. It has its own, as pictured on the screen there, it has its own Bluetooth controller that has directional pads and joysticks, kind of like a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox controller. So this is kind of the first screen that you come up to when you start your Ouya. I didn't bring my Ouya with me just because I've learned in the past you don't run anything that depends on Wi-Fi or Bluetooth at Devox. So, so this is kind of the low-tech version of it. The first screen, once you boot it up, lets you has a little menu there to find stuff to play or play stuff that's already been downloaded to your console, or manage like your credit card details to buy things. Once you go into the play menu, it shows a bunch of games that are available in different areas and all that sort of stuff. And when you go into an actual game card or whatever, it shows you a description of it and whatever screenshots that person has provided for that game. One of the cool things about Ouya is every game has a free trial, and then they use in-app payments to actually purchase it. So it's a little bit nicer than things on Google Play where you have that 15-minute window to decide whether you still like the game or not. So it just kind of depends on the different developers. Some of them have a really rich, full-featured trial. Some don't. It's kind of hit or miss with that. So the possibilities for building games on Ouya, because it's Android, you have all these different options. You know, Unity 3D, Game Maker. There was a libGDX talk. I think that was on Tuesday or Wednesday here. That can also create games for Ouya, and Play-In, which I'm going to show you today. So Play-In is a 2D game library. It is Java-based. It can deploy to Android, to iOS, to Flash, to the web, and because Android, it can also deploy to Ouya. And you can check it out there at code.google.com/p/play-in. So on the different platforms that Play-In runs, these are what it uses. So the kind of core concept is you're going to write most of your code in a core layer, and then it just automatically generates what it needs to run on Java, to run in the browser using GWT, to run on Android, all that type of stuff. The one kind of oddball here is iOS, just because you need to use MonoTouch, which costs like $500 or $600 each year, and then it also uses iKVM, which is a way to compile from Java into C#. So you have this kind of weird daisy chain thing going on there. So the core plugin APIs that we're going to talk about today, we're mostly going to talk about the top 4 here: game, config, assets and graphics, and input. It does have a full-featured audio set and some storage for storing little bits and things like that, saved games, but that's kind of outside of the scope of this talk. So to get started with plugin, of course, you're going to have to install Java. Maven 3.0x. The reason why you can't install Maven 3.1 is there's a weird incompatibility with Android. So until that's fixed, just stay on 3.0. And for Ouya or Android layer, you would need to install Android SDK version 16 that corresponds to 4.1.2 and create your virtual devices for that specific version. So I apologize for Maven, but it's what the project is in. So here's how you get started. Create a new project with Ouya, this long Maven archetype line. And just gonna jump into my browser, into my, where's my mouse? There's my mouse. Okay, all right. And I cheated, so I have it here. And let me start a new thing. All right, so that's gonna go in, my screen's over here. All right, so it's going to ask me, let me blow that up a little bit. Ask me for the artifact ID, let's say bdb.devex, version, package, name, devex, demo. Okay, probably devex. Yes. All right. So it went and generated a bunch of stuff for us. And if we go into that directory, we can see that we have things for the core, Flash, HTML, Java, and Android. So if we, my bad, I started from the beginning. Okay, current slide. All right. All right, so when you start a play-in game, when you're writing a play-in game, the main thing that you need to worry about is the game class. And it provides you 3 functions that control most of your game. Your paint, which obviously paints the world, tick, which gets run every frame that goes by, and update, where you can do your updates of your objects and like parse, input, that sort of thing. Because it's 2D, most of it depends on images and layers. So there's a root layer that controls your whole world, and you add your individual image layers to that root layer, and everything gets drawn. So if we go back to our code, see Vim, and I'm going to show you the try that again. That's interesting. I'm just going to cheat and show you one that I prepared earlier because demos always fail. Okay, here we go. Okay, is that big enough for you guys, or do you need it slightly bigger? All right, cool. That's good enough? Sweet. Not for you. Let's. All right, is that good? Yeah, that looks good for me. All right. As I was saying before, you extend from your game.default, and the constructor function takes an integer, and this 33 somewhat corresponds to refreshing 30 frames a second. We have our init function where we have some images being loaded, and we have our paint function and our update function. And what this application basically does is does a scrolling background of a couple of different layers. So if we go into Maven P Java test. Okay, that's really small, but that's cool. So as we can see in the code here, we are loading the individual layers, and then we're rendering pieces of those layers onto another layer to be drawn. All right, so you can also process input in Play-in. You would need to do that for a game library. Out of the box, it has the keyboard, mouse, pointer, and touch. Now, the keyboard is just your normal keyboard, but pointer kind of, it corresponds to some mouse input and some touch things, but it doesn't do multi-touch or gestures. And there we are. So you have, for your keyboard listener, you have on key down, typed, and up, and the mouse stuff too, and let's go ahead and see this in a demo. Close that out, and we are going to go to test. Okay, and we can see we have like a little Pong demo here that's running, that's using the keyboard. And if we go and look at that code, Pong and core. Sorry, I have to pose. Okay, I'm not gonna. Yeah. All right, so and let's blow this one up as well. All right, so what were we talking about? We're talking about input. So in this function, we can see that we have an on key down, which responds to a keyboard event. And what Play-in does for you behind the scenes is it defines mappings for all of the key types, all of the alphabet and the letter keys and shift and control and stuff like that. So if you're switching from, say, a US configured keyboard to a French configured keyboard, which has some keys that are different, you won't have a problem because you're always using the mapping for it. So for this, we have, when you press a key, it moves up or down, and then A and R refresh the screen and things like that. So it's very simple to get events wired up. All right. So like I was saying before, pointer is sort of a generic veneer over the mouse and the touch, but without the touch events. It can do some pick up and grab, which could be useful for some types of games, but I haven't found a good use case for it yet. And then touch listeners will, this gets a list of touches and you can do gestures with it. And I did a demo with that. Okay, so you can't really do controllers in play-in just yet, which is kind of not fun, but that's the way that it is. But because it uses a lightweight Java GL framework, you can use the controller support from there and kind of wire it into play-in and use that to proxy. Now, one of the good reasons that you want to do this is if you want to attach your Ouya game without having to load it every single time to Ouya. Another reason is because the Ouya controller, it's Bluetooth, and some computers, it acts very funny and weird. Like when I try to connect it to my Mac, it would make the mouse go all over the screen and make the keyboard be unresponsive. So that's one of the things you need to do. So to add the controller support, you would go to the pom.xml file for your Java package and insert these two dependencies for JInput and then for the platform-specific stuff to give you the native libraries for Mac and for Windows and all that type of stuff. So if we go and look at that, all right, so I have a game here that I have done that for. And it is not core, it is Java. Where we go, Java. Okay, shoot through Java. Okay, and blow this up. And there it is. All right, so to wire this, lightweight JGL has a couple of libraries. One is controllers and one is controller. And what you do with that is I can create a controller handler to find the controllers that I have in my connected to my computer, get a count of the controllers that are connected, and then for the process events, I'm looking at the different key presses, the different axes, and seeing what's happening to send that event to my core handler using those same keys, space and up and down and right. That way I don't have to like remap anything. So if we go and look at the code, look at a demo for that, we can see. Even Java test. Okay, so when we first run it, we can see that we can move around with the keyboard and shoot. And if we connect our controller, and we can see that the controller loaded up, and you can shoot and do all that stuff still. And don't mind those errors. So before I go on, does anybody have any questions so far? Yes, you in the front.
When you show us the interface for touch events, you have the array of events. Is it for multi-touch?
Okay. The question was when I showed the interface for touch events, it showed an array of events. And is that for multi-touch? Yes, it is. I haven't seen anything any code that's done gestures in play-in, but with the touch events there, you can kind of build your own on top of that. Or in Android, you could probably use some of the built-in multi-touch stuff there. That was good. Great question. Anyone else? Okay. All right. So, where am I? Slide. All right, so the part that you've kind of came here for, and sorry about that. I like Fanta. Even though it's bad for me, but the American version tastes like not good, and this one has juice in it, so it's healthy because it's 10% juice or something. So anyway, so to add Ouya support, you would have to add a couple of tweaks to your Android manifest file to tell it the minimum, the target version, which is 16, and to add a category intent filter to classify it as a game, or else it won't show up on your Ouya. And you also need to add a couple of other dependencies to your pom.xml for your Android. There, those three. And that's it for that for a second. So another thing is the Ouya controller. So like I was saying before, it has 2 analog joysticks, D-pad, all these buttons, cool stuff, but you can't use it with your computer. But the other thing, where's that slide? I don't remember where the slide is. You can use PS3 and Xbox controllers with Ouya, and you can use those in play-in games, so that makes it kind of awesome. To process the controller events, it's essentially the same as processing an event from for the Java example that I showed, where you're looking at on key down, on key up, and on generic motion event. The main difference between the Java version and this version is those 3 functions are provided by Android. So if we go to our browser, there it is. Great, blow this up. So just like in the lightweight Java one, and blow this one up too, we can see where we're getting the individual events, we're getting the event buttons. It's the same for Ouya. So there's very little code that you have to do differently between the two. Did that. And like I was saying before, don't even try to use it outside the Ouya. And when you're making a game for your TV, there are different overscan areas, and those are kind of areas that are unsafe to put things, because some TVs will have really small overscans, so they show you everything from one end to the other. Others have a good 10-20%, like if you have a CRT TV or really old plasma or something, you might have a lot of cropped off. So to help you not have that, Ouya has a function that you can run that will show you a grid over top, a little overlay to show you what can be done in Ouya and what is bad. So there is another thing that you can do with Ouya is you can have separate Android and Ouya versions, because Ouya is an Android. Everything is there to build it. You just copy the directory over. You make your little tweaks for Android. You make your tweaks for Ouya, and then you would run it with Maven tests project Ouya, or Maven install project Ouya, and it would install just like an Android event. And to show you guys that I'm not faking that this can actually run on Android, let's go ahead and do that. Android install and plug it in. All right, and all right. All right. Okay, we can see it. Yeah, this is the easy way to do that. And then, so it's going and it's installing and that stuff. Creating the jar. It's taking a long time. Okay, there it is. I found the Nexus. And it should have installed it. It's this one right here. So, oh, wrong way. So the same thing that we're running, there we go. All right, so the same thing that we're running on the browser, not on the browser, but the same thing we were running in Java runs on Android just fine. And can show you it runs in the browser as well. HTML integration test. So any questions while I'm waiting for this to start up?
How much did you have to change the code for this particular game between these different platforms?
Okay. The question was, how much did I have to change to code between the different platforms? Probably the best way to show you that is to okay. So for my core library, that's where most of my everything that I've done lives. The Android version, it really wasn't that much. I just added like one line and that was pretty much it. Like for the HTML version, that's here. This was automatically generated by the daily. And for the Java version, this is a totally new class because I wanted to do controller input, and because of that, I had to tweak this class a little bit. I added the controller handler here. I set the config to tell it the dimensions that I wanted, and I added this update function to process the events. And basically, I relied on the fact that this class, that my core class here, because it has the on type, the on key up, the on key down, I have it just sending everything back there to be handled at the core layer. So it's not that much change between the two. And Jetty server is started. And why is it not running? Oh, 8080. That would help. No. 8080. Okay, so there we go. So I can move it around and I can shoot and stuff. Obviously, this has some issues where it's not filling the whole screen, so you might, that's another place where you could tweak it and make sure that it's working correctly, or you might have to do things in between the two, so in between the three. Anyone else? Yes.
How's the platform doing?
How's the platform doing? The Ouya?
Yeah.
The Ouya has currently like 500 something games published, I think. 518. As far as the platform, I think it's interesting. I think it's a sort of nice impulse buy for $100. You can get like an XMBC server, basically, and there are a bunch of different emulators that people have made sure run on Ouya. So for SNES, NES, all that type of stuff. So and some other launchers. There are a bunch of custom launchers. So I think it's one of those things that's sort of vibrant, but there are definitely competitors that are coming around. Like at the Big Android Barbecue, I got to play around with the NVIDIA Shield, which feels bulky, but it's a 5-inch screen, but the colors are really vibrant on it, and it kind of fits in your hand really well. There's another one called the Game Stick that's $79, $79 or $80. That's launching on the same day as the PlayStation 4, which is also a little mini Android console. So I feel like and like the Steam box, which is going to be amazing. So there's lots of competitors. So the market's, I'd say it's slightly fragmented. And as a developer today, I probably wouldn't target Ouya as my only platform. It would be something that I would say, okay, well, I have it running on Android. I just need these couple other tweaks to make it run well on Ouya. So that's kind of where I am right now. Did that sort of, cool. And was there another question? I thought there was. Okay. All right, so go back to slide. All right, so as I was saying before, it's really easy to publish to Ouya. It has, you just go to the website, it has a screen that you fill in the basic details of your game and when you want it to launch and all that type of stuff. And then a screen after that, you actually upload your APK. One of the differences between Ouya and the regular Play Store is that Ouya actually screens everything that comes in. It screens it for hate speech, for violence, nudity, all that type of stuff. So that's something to consider if you're publishing to Ouya. They claim that their turnaround time is good, like under 3 days most of the time, but if you have a really big bug, you might have to wait a little bit versus Android Play Store where you can just kind of push everything together. So 28 minutes, it's a lot. So I think that Plan is a good platform for publishing to all of Android. It's a build once, run everywhere, sort of everywhere thing. One of the things that I learned from doing playing games is that you really should build your high res first, and then do the low res or let it scan down, because like one of the problems that I had in this, if you go to the tutorial one, where is it? It's here. For this tutorial, the regular one runs fine, and it's kind of based off of my images being 640 by 300. But I had to play around to get it to fully scale on Android, because where is it? Android. But anyway, so here I had to set it to the specific height that I wanted for Java, and then for Android I had some issues in some of the first runs where it was drawing the 600 by 300, and then it drew everything else as black, where I was using to put players on the screen and things like that, things that you shouldn't see as a user, you were seeing it. So that's one of the pain points that I feel like Play-In has right now is scaling if you do things too low res. So you really need to build for your 720p, your 1080p, and then let it scale down as versus trying to do the inverse. And the thing that I wanted to mention, I said I had another book. I am self-publishing a book on LeanPub, and it's basically a collection of pretty much all the demos that you've seen here, and some of them I'm still writing. Just ignore the embargo. So if you go to this link that you might not be able to see well, but it's leanpub.com play-in fundamentals. You can get all the blog posts I've written kind of compiled into everything in a bit more detail in the games that I've shown you here on how they work and what doesn't work. And it says that it's 99 cents. I actually have a code that's already active, devoxing, so you can get it for free. So go and get it. And we have about, okay, here are my links. And I am now open for questions. So, yep.
How do you test on the Ouya instead of pushing it out? Is there a way you can connect your device and just upload the things that you're making?
Okay, the question was, how do you test on the Ouya? Are you talking about tests for the store, like in production, or just on your device at home? Okay, so on your device at home, it runs like a normal Android. So you would use the Android tools and like ADB and check the logs and stuff like that. And then Android Studio / IntelliJ has some really good toolkits for debugging Android. So that's usually what I do. Way back, yeah. What do you like for 3D? What do I like for 3D? I like the stuff that the libGDX people are doing. That's really interesting and intriguing to me. They also have a very strong cross-platform story for web, using WebGL and Android and iOS and all that type of stuff. Because it is 3D, it's a little bit harder to kind of get into, but that would probably be my choice. Another choice for 2D, I know you didn't ask that question, but I'm going to ask it for you, is a company called Game Closure. If you don't like Java, you can write JavaScript 2D games for Android and the web using Game Closure. I know a couple of the guys. They're a really cool startup based in Mountain View. Anyone else?
Have you tried actually hooking up Play into a controller on Android, separate from Ouya, plugging the Xbox controller into Android and doing it there?
Okay. The question was, have I tried connecting a controller to a playing game on Android without using the Ouya? Yes. It kind of depends on the controllers. Some things are more well supported than others, but it's the same type of flow. You would use your on key up, your on key down, that sort of thing. And that's pretty much it, because this is just a regular, just generic Logitech controller that I use to test, just because the flow for testing the Java one is a lot faster than having to create the Android thing and then push it to the Ouya, push it to your Nexus and all that. So the loop's faster, but yes, you can.
One other follow-up, completely separate question, but have you experimented at all with the RoboVM stuff that the libGDX guys are talking about for running on any other platform?
Okay. The question was, have I experimented with the RoboVM stuff for running on other platforms? No, I have not. I've looked into it a little bit, but I haven't kind of dug into it as much. The one thing that I've used is when it's working, I use Genymotion to test it, to test things for faster loop.
Yeah, you showed the play-end controller
Uh-huh.
and also the Ouya controller.
Yeah.
So when you want to work on Ouya, you need the Ouya controller,
Yes.
but then you can test it in your application.
Okay, so yeah, let me rephrase that. So the question was, I showed the Ouya controller and controller support in play-in. Would I be able to test Ouya? What was the second part? Sorry.
Yes, how can you test it on your desktop?
Okay, how can I test on my desktop? Yes. You kind of have to, where is the thing? So you kind of just have to rely on this stuff working, and it is a separate flow. Basically what I do is I use the Java version to test the main mechanics of the game, and then plug it up to Ouya with the Ouya controller and play through a little bit, just to kind of rough test it, but
So you would create it using the play and control, and then change the code for Ouya control and put it to the Ouya to like fine tune.
sort of. So if we go here, okay. So you see here where, and you can't really see that well. So let me go. Let me stop this and go. All right. So you see how there is an Android directory there and a Java directory. So basically, what I would do is for general Android that is not Ouya, I would do stuff in that directory, and then I would just copy that directory, name it Ouya, and then I have an Ouya version that runs separate from Android. Does that make sense?
Of the one class that contains the control.
Yes, of the one class, which would be,
It's like a patch, you're patching it.
yeah, exactly. It's just a small little tweak to do the controllers, but all of my game logic is in the core directory, so I don't really have to stay in Android or Ouya that long. So, anyone else? All right. Well, I will back up. If you are too shy to ask me a question, you can come up after the talk. So, thank you for coming.